having a really good time, and I'm so happy to see all of you here. I'm Felicia Fairchild. I'm the Executive Director of the Saugatuck Douglas Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I'm also the President of Michigan's Beach Towns Association. We're a group of 9 Convention and Visitors Bureaus located from New Buffalo to Ludington who work together to promote the lakeshore. This evening's event is part of Beach Towns' initiative to gain certification of Route 31 as a Michigan historical route. Since this route was the first paved highway along the lakeshore that opened up automobile tourism to the lakeshore, and we like to call it Michigan's Route 66. This evening's speaker is an internationally acclaimed photographer whose work is frequently seen in the National Geographic magazine. He's considered one of the nation's finest photographic essayists. He's also a contributor to Time, Newsweek, Life, Fortune, and the New York Times. He's photographed the Lewis and Clark Trail, Route 66, which is why we contacted him in the first place, and now Michigan's Beach Towns. Please give a warm welcome to Vince Musey.
Somewhere about a year ago, I got a call from Felicia about coming up here to speak and show photographs of Route 66 in an effort to try to get this route designated historic that you have, which I thought was fine. I just don't know anything about how they got Route 66 designated. I know about where the best cup of coffee might be. So I said, why don't I come up there and photograph your road? And we'll show those pictures. And somehow, I'm here today. And I don't really quite understand how we did this. 7,000 photographs later, 2 full weeks in the field, which was hardly enough to even scratch the surface. But we're here tonight with this incredibly warm reception. All these wonderful folks have come together. I am absolutely stunned. And thank you again for tolerating my, I'm just overwhelmed, I really am. I like to make photographs that are about things rather than of things. And it's often thought that a geographic photographer's life is very glamorous. It is anything but. It is often a case of where we measure our success by who has a better view of the parking lot from the motel room that you're staying in. This was a much warmer reception than I normally have. And let me tell you that when I go on assignment for geographic, they don't play exactly the theme song behind me. These are some photographs from my Route 66 work. Juan Delgadillo was one of the finest people I've ever met. He wore 2 different colored socks. He was 90 in this photograph, and he could make anybody laugh. He was an incredible guy, and maybe he and his brother were most responsible for saving Route 66. It's great that you can meet folks and travel and see stuff, and what I learned as a photographer doing this story was that I like to photograph things that change, things that age. I want them to look different, and I like to make photographs that are about my journey. I don't want to make photographs that anybody can make, or ones that look like other people's. I want to make my photographs. This is about my journey, my trip. This is a young girl. Her mom owns the motel I'm staying at. And one night she came into this bar, because I spent a little bit of time doing research in bars. And she said, this guy on the left, I met him when he broke up a fight between some bikers and cowboys by throwing a cue ball at the cowboys. And we became friends, and he became my assistant. And so we're having a drink. She came in with this guy, and she said, wish us congratulations, we just got married. And I thought, wow, that's cool, that's her honeymoon. And she said, but please don't tell my mom. So some guys get their girl, some guys don't. I went back to my room. I photographed the televisions. I wanted to photograph what it felt like to be in a roadside motel. You hear the road, you see Route 66, and you look out the window. And some guys get their girl, and some guys don't. I'm proud of this picture because it has my dirty underwear in it. And I got that published in National Geographic. But you know, there's a lot of comparisons that you all seem to want to make between 66 and your road, and it's not fair. 66 is vast, it's enormous, and it's very, very lonely. It's a huge road that's punctuated by things that are still there. You have a rich community that is so thick, so richly layered, that to compare the two is almost unfair to both of you. It's unfair to them. But what you both share are really some wonderful things, some crazy stuff. And I just want to tell you, none of these photographs are created or made up. None of them were made by making appointments or set up. They're all real stuff. And if you don't think this is wrong or crazy, something's nuts here, because this is wild burros walking around the streets. I stood at these Cadillacs in Amarillo. I'd wanted to see them since they were buried there in 1976. I stood there, I called home, I called my wife, I said, oh my God, I'm here. I've made it to the Cadillacs. Everything has been downhill since. I love these. So this was the last photograph that we published from the story. And the thing that I find is that I'm really interested in doing things that I care about, because I really care about preserving these parts of our culture, which are very quickly eroding, being run over by big box stores and a sameness that is fine. I don't care about that. I care about these things. So landing here was really an interesting experience, because I drove all the way down to where the road starts. This is an early alignment of the pavement. It's outside a place called Grand Beach, and it had been raining, and it was horrible, and I thought, what have I done? What have I gotten myself into? And out of nowhere, this Cadillac appeared. A 1959 Cadillac Eldorado with the convertible top. The guy has fuzzy dice in it. And he nodded to me as if he had been waiting there for years. It was nothing. I was standing on the road. Here comes the guy, and all right, and I shot that, and I followed this. It was like it was a gift, and it said, "Follow me, follow me. You want to have a look at this thing." So I did. I love showing these photographs to my friends. You know, I send them to my wife. I send them to my former students, and who are far more famous than I am now, and more successful. And I send them to my colleagues and my editors, and I say, have a look at this. And on the refer line, the reference line of the email, it would say, yesterday in Western Michigan. And that's where the title for the show came from. It became adapted to yesterday on the Western Michigan Pike, because so few people know about it. I spoke to a young guy, and I said, I'm doing a piece on the Western Michigan Pike, and do you know what that is? And he said, of course, it's a fish. But you know, if you haven't figured it out by now, one, photography is not a universal language, and two, these aren't tourist pictures, because I like finding the inside of the snack bar to look at something that I find beautiful. You are blessed with a magnificent landscape, incredible landmarks, and sometimes the vantage point is wonderful past some Fritos and Doritos and things like that. This is Dutch Village. I think this is crazy. This is the road you want to designate. I called this Van Gogh Paints a Walmart. I nearly wrecked the car when I saw these people, because you can see them from the road. This beautiful mom and pop motel. It is still lovingly restored. It's Nader's Motel in Ludington. It's an extraordinarily cool place. And these folks are so much at home. They've just finished having a dinner. There's some fog rolling in from the lake. They've got these dogs, and I'm like, oh, this is unbelievable. You can't make people do this kind of stuff, and here it is. I tell people my most valuable piece of equipment is time. I wish I had so much more. There are so many things I would love to have photographed here. But I'm so lucky to have been able to photograph so many of the cool things that were going by. These rites of passage with youth and childhood and boys and girls and ice cream and all of the things that you associate with your experience of being here. These gals were trooping down after an ice cream cone. One of them still has ice cream on her shirt. I love these folks. It's a place you can get carried away. I need another beer now. Look, you know, I'm here, I'm photographing this RV, I'm looking at that trash can. I love this thing. I went into the dunes thinking I'm going to do dunes, the beauty of the dunes. And I thought, you know, the picture is here. It's in the parking lot. The way the parking lot goes right up to the dunes, that the sea goes right up to the parking lot, that everything is coming together. And all of a sudden, like the Cadillac, this guy walks up carrying a girl. romantic place than to be hiding under the windmill and all that. This is unbelievable. This is a place where memories are made and characters formed, and romantic afternoons are spent in the shadow of the windmill. And I love this. I love this. It's like stepping into another time. Why is it that when you go to one of these ice cream places, that the line is enormous? You could have surgery quicker than you can get an ice cream. How can that be? What takes so long? I love this stuff. It's a rite of passage. You must wait an average of 45 minutes for a twist cone on any day of the week for your summer to count. This is from a family reunion. It happens every weekend in Holland State Park. I love this. And so, yeah, you could say, you could photograph, where are the people? You could photograph something. No, to me, the picture of this family is the goods, this banquet, this feast that presents itself with gherkins and mustard on the sand here at the park. It's one of my favorite photographs. This is Brian. He works at the Getty Ford Drive-In, and he is putting down the last drop of the Pepsi before he heads out onto the field to sell glow sticks to people at the drive-in. I almost fell over when I saw this. You know. Great stuff. I saw a plane crash that night at the drive-in. Very carefully could see the plane hitting the wire. No one was hurt. No, everybody's just fine. Thanks for asking. This is in St. Joseph at this, I looked at these books of old photographs of the area, and I was just struck by how wonderful it was, and festive, and pavilions, and people in fancy dress. Magnificent. And these things are still happening. They still go on. They just happen. Everybody looks different. First of all, they're in color. And we don't see old pictures on the street. But this stuff plays out. This is this rite of passage of summer and boys and girls. And I love this little thing. The sign in the middle says something about you must be this tall to be on this ride. And on the very far left, it says, be careful. These two, it's hard to see on this projector, but I don't know if they're happy. I don't know if they're sad, if they're fighting, if they're having the greatest time. I know one thing. In a minute, they're about to be scrambled. And I remember my first ride on one of these mechanical horses. You still have those things. How cool is that? And this is a little tiny thing that will somewhere register later in life with these people, with these children. And that's just a wonder. You have this place where these things can take place, that can happen here. I stayed away from the beach. I didn't do a lot of people at the beach. I made a feeble attempt at it, mostly because it's really hard to make pictures at the beach, and I'm very lazy when it comes to that kind of stuff. But this is here. But I'm much more attracted to the nuttiness of these dunes, these crazy cars and four-wheel drives that are buzzing around the dunes up in Silver Lake. It's really crazy. The scale is messed. You're not sure how big you are. It's a Twilight Zone thing. I love this. These guys are driving $40,000, $50,000 trucks up and down these dunes, getting stuck, going up and down. I'm not sure why, but it's cool, I think, when you get there. I went to the top. I climbed up. I didn't have a thing that would get me up there that I thought. I walked up and I would jump out when I thought it was safe to photograph these cars or trucks and things going past. This apparently, as I have come to learn, is called a rooster when it's pointed at you. And it turns day into night. And it took 3 days to get all of the sand out of my ears. I might need your help on this. I went back to Dutch Village. Now don't laugh. I witnessed a crime there. I'm not sure what happened. But the police are looking for the woman on the left. If you see her, you know what to do. Bob Henry bless his heart, put me up at the Silver Lake Sand Dunes Motel, and he, like many of the heads of the 9 families, these CVBs, they're like the mafia. And here at South Haven, you talk to Lisa. Get that, you move up, you call Felicia, otherwise you keep on going, you get up to Sally's here. Bob says, how can I help you? What do you want? What are you looking for? I don't know. I'm looking for guys carrying girls off by things. I don't know. And I opened the door in my room and I said, that's what I'm looking for. A room with a view. I love this stuff, these resorts, these instant family outings that happen at these resorts, the comfort level that people feel that they have. I'm also troubled by barbecue grills on the 2nd floor of wooden structures. They're all over the place. There's a fascination with fire that people have when they come here. I'm worried about it, but it's great pictures. You have great diversions. You have one of the old, and I'm a fan of drive-in. Since I was a kid and my father would take me to the ABC drive-in. And in Pittsburgh, all you saw at night, the sky was never black because of the steel mills and the roar of the blast furnaces. The sky was never black. But I grew up, I never saw a film in a regular theater. It was always in the backseat of a car. And I love these places, and that you have one of a few left in this state, and a few of the ones left in the country is magnificent. You have so many things here that you can't rebuild or you can't fix. You just need to preserve. And that's one of them. The Getty Ford is the most wonderful drive-in in Muskegon. If you haven't been there, support those guys. It's great. Because there's drama, there's tension. There is, look at this. This is the hot dogs. What a food. You all have eaten. You don't find this interesting. To me, there is a bit of drama in the line at the popcorn. The faces tell the story of the drama in the line at the popcorn. Who will go home with who will make out with whose kids will go to sleep in the back of the car, whose kids won't. I love this stuff. And I love pegboard. You have places with pegboard. You have people... You do. People make this stuff, and somebody made these mounts. I bought one of these fish. I took it home. It's in my kitchen. I swear to God, I bought a walleye. I sent a photograph of the walleye to my 15-year-old nephew in Pittsburgh, and he's a smartass, and he wrote a note back and said, "Who buys a mounted walleye?" I guess you do. So, but I bought this fish at this is 7 o'clock in the morning. This place is open with stuff. You can't go to a big box and find them at 7 in the morning with pegboard. This has got to be saved. I wish I knew more about this. I love the connection you have to water and to the way you make use of the environment here and that you preserve it and you protect it. It's a wonderful quality. I love this stuff. I went to the Ludington Gander Mountain Fishing Classic because I wanted to sort of put that in the piece. I wanted that to be, it was a huge thing, I thought. And it was not very interesting. Guys got off the boats, they put the fish on the weight, on the scale, and then they went off and told stories. And so I was privy to see this this ritual of the salmon dance, which involves choosing which fish to weigh in the big fish weigh contest. So I strategically positioned myself between the guys with the fish and the guys with the scale. And this feels to me like I'm about to get slapped by a 19-pound salmon, by a gang of fishermen. You allow things to get old, and you don't paint over them, and you just want to save them. It's a wonderful thing to find these little touches. Not everything has to be new. Not everything has to be made of plastic. It's a wonderful thing to come across things. All of this is about a journey that I found. You will find another one. I hope you find it. I hope someone else comes and finds a whole other set of photographs to do. Another artist will find another journey. And that's the beauty, is that you can find your own place here. I groove on these things, other people will groove on different things. You have your choice. I find wedding couples at the beach to be really crazy. These guys are about to kill each other because he's trying to write something in the sand that's not working. This is, I was getting a tour of Muskegon, and I leapt out of the truck because I saw this master gardeners having a party, and in this fake Monet's garden kind of thing. And this is a birthday party for the woman in the parasol. And there's gardens everywhere, here on the ground, on the clothing. It's just that it's a really wonderful little moment that you would drive by and never know, that I think is just so cool. But I started to get into photographing fake things, fake flowers. I thought that was cool. Well, everybody's got real flowers. You guys have cool fake ones. And then I will tell you the most exceptional person I met on this trip. Cut down in the prime of her life at 103, Sylvia Randolph made cookies for us when we came to visit her. I mean, what a wonderful gift you guys have had in this community. We'll miss her, and I'm sorry that she's not here. Welcome is a word that is sort of ingrained around here. I go to places, people don't know me, I look funny, I got long hair, and I'm met with suspicion wherever I go. And few places in the world I'm not, and this was one of them. I would say simply what I was doing, and people opened their doors. People let me into their lives and their families, and it was wonderful. And I learned an awful lot about this place in a very short period of time. And one of the things I learned is this fascination that you all have with lighthouses, which I think is cool. But I'm only here for 2 weeks. I'm not here through this incredible time. But I did discover how much of a sort of a community thing these lighthouses become, to watch sunsets, to gather, to have family gatherings. It's very cool. I'm just never going to make the great pictures of the lighthouses. I just can't do it. So I decided that my only option was to photograph fake lighthouses. So my new book will be The Lighthouses of Western Michigan, and they will all be fake. This is at Bob's Place as well. It is a lighthouse carved with a chainsaw. And it guards the parking lot, and I think it does a great job. And I love this. And so I started to look for fake lighthouses, and I found Jerry. He's got a great one in South Haven. And I said, Jerry, because Jerry looked at me and said, doesn't everyone have one of these where you live? And I said, no. And I said, what compelled you to do? His son gave him a flagpole. And so Jerry was sort of, overwhelmed. He came to my show earlier today, and he remembers this exactly because I made this photograph of him. We walked back to this house, and my faithful and loyal assistant, Megan, a budding photographer here, she went over to make some pictures. And Jerry said, "Now there's a picture." And I said, "You're absolutely right." Why anybody would dress up in wool outfits and stand out in 105-degree heat to play baseball without a glove is one of those things that you got to think about. But these guys, the Douglas Dutchers, keep a tradition alive. They recognize this. There's no money here. You can't make people do this. They do it because they love it. These guys are bankers and lawyers and police chiefs, right? And they stand out there. They're dying. It's 105. I'm not happy about this. They can't be. And they do this because it's the right thing to do. It brings families together. It brings communities together. Kids groove on this stuff, and they learn something else. And I love that about working here. It is a really extraordinary thing about being around here. Makes good pictures. These kids are great. Look how beautiful those guys are. Just beautiful. But it's hot. It's really hot. And you shouldn't do that. Play baseball now. In those wool uniforms, if it's such a bang-up idea. Cars are hot. I mean, I love finding this kind of stuff. Pennants in the middle of blueberry fields at Earl's Farm Market. How cool can that be? I could spend days, and I'm not kidding, I could spend days photographing stuff like this. I just love these juxtapositions. I look for the things that go together, the things that go apart. I love the dance of the blueberry pickers, of the raspberry pickers, this kind of stuff. And I love the commitment to agriculture here because these things go here and you eat them. That's cool because that doesn't happen everywhere. They're shipped or they're packaged or they're going. Somebody made those pies. Somebody put them in there. And I love this cabinet, this case. That's, for me, it's absolutely a joy to find these kind of things. I love diners. I like to spend a lot of time in diners drinking bad coffee. And I went to Ma's Coffee Pub, which has very good coffee. But you drink enough coffee that you're buzzing around the room, and then all of a sudden you're inspired to make pictures. So this place has this magnificent old, it's a real diner, a fabricated diner. Those are not, that's not wallpaper. Those are metal stamped out walls. It's beautiful, this place. This is Cindy. I invited Cindy to all these shows. I don't know if she's come. Cindy wouldn't allow me to photograph her, didn't want me to, but she would let me photograph her pin, which I loved, her pin. And she's really not that red. We're having some projector issues tonight, so I apologize for that. But this stuff, you can't make these things. You can't buy this stuff. You can't make retro work like that. This is authentic, real. You have lots of it. Preserve it, save it, think about it. I know it's hard. It'll be gone soon if you don't. I met 18 cousins one day at the Ottawa Beach General Store, and I thought that was a lot. I thought that was cool. They come together once a year to get together and eat ice cream and do whatever you do. And then I found folks who 55 cousins. And I started, this was a repetitive thing. I'd see these enormous family gatherings. How cool is that? They can come together and from all different places for this 1 or 2 weeks at the beach and spend it here. How cool it is they want to spend it here. Beautiful families. And great found things. This is at the Lakeside Inn near Buffalo. This boar, this painting, the old photographs of this roadside inn with, dating back to guys with, chitty chitty bang bang cars coming on dirt roads from Chicago. And I found a car I'd never heard of called a Meteor. I saw it in St. Joseph. It was real. And I saw the Dog and Suds. I would hang out at Dog and Suds and make pictures of my root beer, and I would photograph my French fries, and then I'd get out of the car. And they thought I was crazy. I think they were very close to calling the police a couple of times. And I said, no, I just love these green lines. I like bug lights. And they go, yeah, sure you do. I like bug lights. This is just around the corner here. I love rainy days and bad weather to make good pictures. I love it that you go out and appreciate things in bad weather. That after a torrential rain when you think everybody would be gone for the evening can make it back out for its most spectacular late night. And I went out with these Coast Guard guys, which are real cool. Nothing better than 20-year-old guys with a $250,000 boat that goes 150 miles an hour. And a wise guy with a ponytail and a camera that we could scare. But we went out in the dark, and this guy says to me, there's the badger. And we were right underneath it. I never saw it, never heard it. It came silently in the water, and I looked up and there it was. What a magnificent sight it is to see this thing cruising through the water. They allowed me to go into the boiler room of the badger, and it's 150 degrees there in the cool part. And this is the real deal. I mean, they're stoking coal, they're doing stuff. They got knobs and wrenches as big as a house, and it's an amazing, amazing place that is still out there and that you all support it. Great stuff. Moles working over there. And it harkens back to that time when ships like this buzzed up and down the waterways here. And it's cool that they're still here, still recognized, still a part of this landscape. I love this juxtaposition. This is a twin to the badger called the Spartan. And you've got 4 people, 1 bird in a car. And those dance halls are still full. They don't have anywhere to go. So they wind up on these little docks, and they wind up in bars, and there's all kinds of stuff happening here. It's just in different places. There's dancing here. There's a different kind of dancing in Ludington at the skate park. And whatever he's having, I'll have. I love that guy. Look at those socks. And I love that I found these guys. I'm not making this up. They don't know each other. They're dressed identically. They went to the same boarding school for posture. Like that, and it was gone. So I started looking at twins. I started looking at pairings. And I found these kids. They're wonderful children. They're not upset. They're just tired. They've been beating each other up in the pool, running around. So you start looking for these things that connect. You find two trees, and you put some signs up, and an RV park comes up at the beach. And I'm stunned by this. Because I look at this and I go, oh man, that's not cool. And you know what? This is the street I grew up on. Look at this. There's kids on bicycles, riding skateboards, a guy reading the newspaper, cars parked in front. This is my neighborhood. And it instantly happens because you let it happen. You don't say, oh, you can't do that because it doesn't look nice. You let people do that. And they come here, and they want to come here because of that. That's a wonderful thing. People feel comfortable coming here. There's a magic that you can't just decide you're going to have. And it's a big part of this place. This guy probably has this RV parked in front of his house. He comes here every year to drive that RV all the way here from Indiana or Missouri. And he steps 5 feet up, puts a chair down, and says, he could drive that thing anywhere. He came here, right? How cool is that? And this is under the category, if they build it, they will come. Bob, Henry, and I were cruising on Silver Lake, and I saw this enormous blue tarpaulin, 100 feet in length, that had a huge hose with a thing you pump out basements or fire trucks with. And they had created their own water park. Totally rowed, totally just a few people in a rowboat whose name I will not reveal. And everyone came. And they created a water park on the side of this desert. It was rough. It's rough. But they kept coming back. Very, very cool. And then they left. Within 30 minutes, it was folded up and put in a John boat and away. Just some little slices of life from around here. Some people I met, some places I saw. This is Gino. You've got to be careful. I love meeting people, but when you meet the bridge tender, who has been in a box all day long, you're going to learn a lot about that guy. And he's a wonderful guy, but I know a lot about Gino. I like cars and windows. I found this 65 Plymouth convertible in Art Overhuel's garage, and I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave. I just thought it was magnificent. It's like a kid in a candy store. This is my kind of thing. Happy Veterans Day to all of you. These are the This is an extraordinary thing for me. This is the American Legion Band concert in Holland. It's a little ad in the newspaper that says they're playing a concert tonight. And these guys are like the Rolling Stones. There were like 1,500 people out there. And the mean age was about 80. It was very, very cool. These guys are colorblind. And when we lived in Washington, things like this happened only because there were cameras there. Because there was media there to record it. That was justification. You do things like that here because that's what you do. It's important to do those things. That's called community. That's great. You can't just decide you're going to do that. That's something you have to pass on. And you should really be proud of that. It's a wonderful, wonderful characteristic of here. I love it that you have this agricultural thing, you make things. I love it that you recognize people who make things with their hands. This is hometown girl here, Marcia Perry, working to reveal what's in this huge piece of wood, this chair thing, whatever it's going to wind up being. I'm not sure she knows what it'll be, but that's cool that you support that. I think it's really important. This is at the youth fair, the 4-H youth fair, and you can't read it because those red apples are done in glitter paint, but it says Michigan made, and everything in there comes from Michigan. And there's a pride in that I think is really cool and very noble for these kids, these 4-Hers. But my favorite part is where it says dream. I think that's so cool that you can have these kinds of things here. This is the real deal. This is not made up stuff. And I'm just overwhelmed by it, I got to tell you. This is the Fort Knox of the 4-H fair. Head, heart, hands, health, every trophy is stowed away in this thing. This girl is waiting for this pig. She's waiting for her picture to be made because she won a yellow ribbon, and her pig won't cooperate. And so there are two guys chasing it around. And she's very patient, but she's not so patient. Cool stuff. You guys invented the car, right? The car culture. Look, I realize this set of photographs doesn't have everything that should be in there. This, as I said before, the language of photography is anything but universal. That you'll see something different in these things than I do, and I think that's wonderful. And if I might repeat a little bit about the statement that I made, that they're both successful and a disappointment to me, because I just sort of ran out of time, and I'm, I wish I had more of that, but that there's so much to do. It's the attraction, the secret of the longevity of this very richly layered place. You cannot sum it up simply in one set of photographs. You just can't do it. You can't capture it, you can't file it away, you can't say, oh, been there, done that, I did that story, it went away. You got to live it, and to live it, you need to come back. This is a place to hand down. You have to preserve it and stubbornly protect it because the pressure is going to be on. It's such a wonderful place. This, to me, is the distant relative that you want to be introduced to, and the friendship that you will spend a lifetime sharing. The West Michigan Pike, to me, is more a lineage than a roadway. It's a pedigree for those experiences shared that influence our formative years and continue to build character throughout our adult ones. I know I'll be back, and I'll bring my boy. Thank you.